Welcome to Suthichai Live English. My guest today, Supajon Klinsuwan, an old friend from a long, long time ago. And today, I'm happy to invite him on the program so that he can tell us the story behind his attempt to become a senator. A failed attempt, but a worthwhile attempt, I would say, and his experience would be worth our listening. So สวัสดีครับคุณสุปจน
สวัสดีครับคุณสุทธิชัยครับ Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so how has life been with you? Before we talk about your candidacy as a senator, I think we met each other the last time too long ago, many
Yes.
What has happened to your life since then?
Well, life was good until a little germ called COVID came along, and along with everybody else in Thailand and around the world, life has been hard. But apart from that, good. Yeah, having my own little business, opening my own little coffee shop called Cafe Dam. I'm not sure if you see it.
Yeah.
It's actually my friend's franchise. I'm not sure if he was inspired by your show, but yeah, here goes. I have a cafe down in front of my house.
Right.
Yeah.
Black coffee,
Black coffee. Apart from that, doing some lots of voiceover jobs, lots of translation work. Not too much TV nowadays, but yeah, I mean, I had better days.
Yeah. And also you have a YouTuber. Do you produce regular content on YouTube or on social media?
Well, as we speak, I'm gathering some of my good friends who's been kind of laid off from various agencies, and we're going to be gathering to do some fun stuff on YouTube. But the competition is pretty fierce, so we're going to carefully plan everything before we do the launch, which hopefully will be within the third quarter of this year. Mm-hmm.
What kind of content are you thinking about?
Well, we're gonna do some fun stuff, but still related to people's lives and what really matters, and something that people should know and be aware of to make their decisions easier when they decide anything on life.
That's great. But you were teaching English before, right?
Well, I'm still teaching now. I mean, a few years back, I was doing this program called English Breakfast. Yeah, back at Thai PBS.
Sure.
Yeah, it was quite some time.
Yeah.
We actually interviewed you. Kun Suthichai, you're one of our first guests that we interviewed on English Breakfast, right?
I remember. And
yes, sir.
It's always fun to be involved in educating the new generation of people, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, okay, tell us the story behind your decision to enter into this contest to become senator and how you managed, to cross a lot of hurdles until the last hurdle. What made you decide in the first place?
Well, I didn't make it to the national level. Yeah. And with high hopes, like everybody else pretty much. Well, it all started when I heard about the process according to the 2017 Constitution, where the Senate election is no longer open for the public, right? So, a typical Thai walking on the streets, you can't select or elect for your senator, right? The thing is, I did a little survey, Kun Suthichai. I went down to Khao San Road and did my little vox pop. Yeah, it was fun. It was hilarious. I tell you. So I went up with a question of what can tourists do in Thailand for 2,500 baht, and we had various answers. We had people, buying food, going for a lavish meal, getting lots of things that people say don't exist in Thailand. Certain. Yeah. Businesses, right? Some were and we had lots of answers. And after that, I got their answers. I told them that for a typical Thai, for 2,500 baht, believe it or not, we can actually elect our Senate member. And they were like, say what? Come again? So I said, well, according to the law, according to the highest law of the Constitution, we have to not only be 40 years of age, not having any criminal records, not being a member of any political fraction or party. What else? Having a Thai national, we have to pay 2,500 baht in order to become a Senate candidate before you can cast your ballots to select a Senate member. And they were like, really? I was like, yeah. And that was astonishing. You know? Yeah, and there are lots of people who like myself are more on the liberal side of things, and we're like that's not really the idealistic democratic ideology in doing all this. So lots of my friends decided, I mean, we can afford 2,500 baht. We're 40 years of age. Let's give it a try. And that's exactly what I did. And yes.
Uh-huh. No, that's the main reason behind your decision.
Exactly. And there was a certain rules that people cannot for one family, Suthichai, for one family, if you were to run for the Senate, your spouse, your father, your parents, your grandparents, your children, in the vertical line can no longer apply. There's one person per one family, but siblings can, right? Siblings, for example, if you were to run for the Senate, Suthichai would be able to run, but your son.
My parents won't be able to.
No, I mean that's like one big question mark of why.
Why? Yeah, why?
Right? Okay, so let's get over that. My wife decided to run for the Senate in Phang Nga province, which is her hometown. Now, for a typical Thai, we have four choices to select our grounds, right? So it's good, ban tham ngan rian, the place you were born, the place where you have your house registration for a number of years, where you've officially worked for a number of years, and where you went to school. Lucky for me, I was capable of running for the Senate in Khong Luang, Pathum Thani, because I've been teaching at Thammasat University's Faculty of Journalism and Mass Comm for 15 years now.
So over 10 years. Yeah.
Yes. And competition was so much less fierce.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you recall, do you recall which district of Bangkok faced one of the biggest mayhems during the application day?
Which district, right?
It was Bangkok Noi. Why? Because Bangkok Noi is where Sirirat Hospital is. And people of my generation and upwards, people, myself and older, most of us in Bangkok were born in Sirirat.
Oh so Sirirat, Bangkok Noi is the most crowded place for you.
Exactly. So well, anyway, that's the side story of all this, right? So back to your question, I decided to give it a try, right? And when during the 5 days of the application process, I mean, my eyebrows, including everybody else across the country, saw some very interesting figures that despite the number of population and number of districts in each of the provinces across Thailand, it turns out that Srisaket was the province with the highest application. Yeah, at 2,764, and Bangkok had only 2,400. I was like,
what? So have you ever found out why Srisaket came first?
I guess they were just political enthusiasts. They just enjoy being part of this political process. That's my wild guess.
That's all? And it wasn't sort of organized by certain political groups?
I wouldn't be qualified to accuse anybody of doing anything, but I think the number that came out itself would pretty much reflect certain realities of what is going on in Thailand. And once the final 200 came out, I mean, and then we find out that we have 14 senators from Buriram, right?
Particular province, Buriram.
Yeah, but that's not as astonishing as I think it was second or third place, which was Ang Thong as well.
Right.
Because Ang Thong has only 7 districts, Suthichai. Has only 7 districts, but you have 6 senators altogether. That's awesome. That's great performance. I mean, Bangkok has 50.
I know.
Great. It happens.
It happens. It
It
happens.
happens, sir.
So along the way, what did you discover?
Mm,
Was everything fair, open, and just and free?
okay.
As what
So,
election should be. You know,
uh,
as
well,
election should be, right? Fair and free and fair first, and then just, and then transparent, and then accountable, whatever. Yeah.
well, I mean, I think pe Thai people were very accused of not being in order. Thai people are accused of doing things their own way.
Right.
But what I saw at the district, provincial, and national levels of the Senate election, I think Thai people, once they put their minds into it, are very in line if they
Organized.
want to succeed in anything.
Organized. And
Organized, I would say, very organized. Okay, you see, in the
Mhm.
district level, Suthichai, right? There's the selection within each group, and then there's the afternoon session, which is the what do you call it? The cluster vote, right? So I saw with my own eyes. I was in group 18.
Mhm.
Group 18 is for
ผู้สร้างสรรค์วรรณกรรมและอื่นๆว้าว creative วรรณกรรม has to be literature
literature and members of the media.
ว้าว
Yeah, Suthichai, yeah, the media,
Yeah.
right? I was in group 18. Now we were lined up in the ballots, right? The ballot boxes. We had 18, we had 20 of them, right? According to each group. I was in group number 18, which at the district level had 4 candidates, had only 4.
24 wow
Only 4, and we were going to select only 3. So I was kind of confident that I'm going to be one out of the 3. Only one is going to go home, right?
Right.
Right. So, but the row right next to mine on the left hand side was group 17, which is it's like social services or something. I'm not sure what the English word for it is called, right?
Yeah.
I saw almost 30 people show up.
30
Right. Yes, 30 people came up. And according to the ballots that you were given, you can vote for up to a number of people. I think it was 5 for the morning. It was was it? I think it was. I mean, yeah, because the rules change along the way. But my point is, I'm sorry. You get to cast.
Yeah.
But you end up with 3 at the end of the day. You end up with 3 people from each of the groups within your district, right? But what I saw with my own eyes was the group next to mine on my left hand side. About 27, 28 people showed up, and half of them, once the votes were counted for, half of them ended up with 0 points.
0 points meaning
0 points.
meaning that they didn't vote for themselves.
Exactly. They didn't even vote for themselves. So I'd be like, okay.
Wow.
So
Right.
the election commissioner of my district, he came in and he couldn't believe his own eyes. He was like, really? I mean,
Wow.
and then he came to his senses that he was like, oh, so this is what you call voters.
Voters, right? Real voters. You pay
Exactly.
2,500 baht just to exercise your right to vote.
Yeah, and you came in and you voted for a certain individual and you went home.
Yeah, this is what democracy is all about. You are
Fine.
selfless.
No
You're
problem.
selfless. You don't vote for yourself. You are selfless. You
No
want
problem. No problem about that. But my question is,
Yeah.
what happens to those people, those typical Thais who pay tax like you and I, Suthichai,
Yeah.
but are not yet 40 years old,
Yeah.
don't have 2,500 baht to play around with, and don't have the time? So that means they're not been heard, or what?
Oh. Right. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
And then once we're done with that, the within the group process, right? We then move on to the next stage.
Afternoon.
Okay, I recall this. Okay. The morning we needed 5 people to enter the next round.
5.
Only 5. And because my group had only 4 people, all 4 of us,
got in. You got into
got
the
in.
next round.
And we had so much time to sit and chit chat and talk, and we became friends eventually, right?
Great.
All four of us.
All
And
right.
then once we enter the next round,
Yeah.
the five people are then selected to end up with only three.
Three. Okay.
Okay. So of course, before we could get the official what we call it, documents to inform which are the final five
Yeah.
that came through.
Yeah.
It took a while. It took like an hour or so.
Yeah.
So in that process,
Mhm.
lobbying just went wild.
Right.
People were, walking around, just asking for votes. And then what I could witness, what I could see, both at the district and provincial level, is that when you decide to select someone or vote for someone, sometimes it's not because you know him or her. It's not because you see the Sawwa Sam, which is like the details of the accomplishments of that individual, but you decide to select someone basically because they made a verbal promise that they will also vote for you.
Oh. Wow.
Exactly. So okay. So
Oh no, you're five from the morning session. In the afternoon, only three were left. In your
no. So yeah, five were left in the afternoon, and we will finalize with only three for each group.
Okay, three. So in your group, five, only three would be qualified. So
Yes.
two had to be kicked out. Did you, among the five, agreed or quietly lobbying and say, "Hey, I vote for you. You vote for me."
Well, I mean, for me, I mean, I was kind of, I don't want to say cocky, but I was kind of confident that I would pretty much, out of my four the four people that will be going with the that will continue in this process, three of us will go. I'm pretty confident at that time that I would be one of the three.
Why would you be so confident when you saw what was happening right in front of your eyes, that it was lobbying? It had nothing to do with your background, your qualifications,
Yes,
nothing at
exactly.
all, or in your intelligence, because you didn't even have to finish your primary education, right?
Well, I mean, when it comes to that issue with Suthichai, I mean, I'm trying to guess that the people who wrote the law and the process of doing this is they want the Senate, the upper house, to be having a variety of people of various backgrounds and various educations.
Diversity.
I mean, which at the end of the day, I'm quite open for that, because going back in modern Thai history, we do, I mean, for the past few decades, we do have very successful businessmen who graduated bossy.
Right, sure.
They went to this basic school and they become billionaires. I mean, it happens, but you have to be very, very talented in your field.
Yeah, sure. So,
Right, which later became.
So
Yes.
you ended up being the three out of the five, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you didn't lobby for votes at all? They voted for you out of what?
Well, I mean, I did go around and introduce myself. Sawadee ka, Sawachon kap. Yeah, remember me? Yeah, I've been doing TV. Oh, here's my my credentials. I've been teaching mass communications and journalism in Thammasat for the past 15 years. Sawadee ka. I mean, please consider.
Nice
And
guy. Yeah, very nice guy. Very polite. Very humble.
Yes, yes.
But I also heard that there was a lot of backstabbing, meaning that you promise a vote and then, in fact, you vote for the other guy because the other guy gave you back the vote or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the game is Kun Suthichai. I mean, let's say each of the groups are then clustered into a cluster of 5 groups, right?
Yeah.
So once we have this little cluster, we will then have to vote the other groups, and hope that members of the other groups will vote for you as an individual. So what people would do is, for example, let's make it easy, right? So let's say we have candidate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for this group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. vertically.
Yeah.
So what number two would do is number two would go to number two of the second group, number two of the third group, number two of the fourth group, and number four of the fifth group, and make sure that everybody within the number two vote for one another. That's kind of the lobbying that's going on, kind of. So at the end of the day, you will end up with 4 points from the other four groups, right? Because everybody else would, I mean, unless you're outstanding in a way, or you knew one another prior to the election, it's kind of difficult to get vote if you're not going to have anything in exchange.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
You give and you take. Okay.
Exactly. So, what we see is lots of people ending up with ties, with a tied score.
Yeah, equal.
So,
ties.
And the very interesting point of who gets to go to the next round is actually through a lucky draw.
Lucky draw, because all ties, you see.
Right. So if you were to ask me, if the final 200, the senators that the election commission has just approved, are they the most talented? I wouldn't be able to answer. Are they the smartest? I wouldn't be able to answer. Are they the most qualified? I don't know. But are they the luckiest group of senators? I would say yes.
Luckiest, yes.
Because a number of them came through the national round through a lucky draw, Suthichai.
I know. So that was what democracy is all about. Just draw lots.
Well, I mean, lots of people were scratching their heads, but I mean, a number of people made it through to the next round. But what happens is, if the Constitution, the big picture of the Constitution, enhances the Thai society and members of the Thai society to unite as one, to love one another, to be what do you call it? United. The process that we just went through is totally against the will, because the system is designed so that a number of people will backstab one another. So let's say, for example, the example I raised, let's say you're at number two, and you're trying to lobby so that everybody else within the other groups within your cluster would vote for you. You then make a little secret deal with, say, number four or number five. Say, hey, you vote for me and I'll vote for you. Say, okay, yeah, sounds fun. But then, of course, you have only one vote, which you vote for the other groups within your cluster, right?
You keep promising the others so that you hope they would vote for you, right?
Exactly.
This is what Game of Thrones.
Exactly. I mean, or maybe Three Kingdoms, maybe.
Three Kingdoms, yeah, Three Kingdoms. 三國, huh?
Exactly. And I saw, lots of people ending up, kind of like, angry. And kind of shouting at the other person and said, wait, how did I end up with that score? You didn't vote for me.
You betrayed me.
Exactly. And that's what happened. And that's reality. And, people, I mean, I ask myself, how do these people go back home and live in harmony with the other people within their district, if then what they did will be spread out, will be the talk of the town within their community?
Sure, you cannot keep a secret on that.
Nope.
All the votes were there on paper, and it's made public.
Yep.
Did that happen to you? Did anyone betray you, or did you betray anyone?
Oh no, I didn't betray anybody, but I did get some. I'm not sure if you could still see the wound behind me.
Yeah.
Well, you see, after we went, well, I mean, since even before the election day, selection day, I would say, not election, it's more of a selection process. Even before the selection process within the district level, the first person actually who inspired me to run for the Senate was actually an individual named Panat Kasaniyanon.
Okay.
Ajahn Panat was he was a public prosecutor, Ayakan,
prosecutor.
Yeah, he was a public
prosecutor.
I got public prosecutor, I think, and he was a former dean of the Faculty of Law of Thammasat University. Yeah, and he was also a senator, a,
Yeah.
an elected senator for Tak province,
Yeah.
which the election occurred according to the 1997 constitution. So he was super qualified. And when once he realized what was going to be going on this year, for the Senate process, he then went public. He said, this, he can predict mayhem. He says there's going to be lots of political parties or political fractions who will, send their nominees into this process. So he's saying, members of the public, you people with the free will, if you can afford this, if you have the time, if you have the money, I think you should come in and be part of this, and at least
Yeah.
get some people who not only qualify, but those with the democratic ideology to go in and take a shot. And
Yeah.
then and he's like 80 something years old.
Right.
And I was like, I met him in person, and he was like, John, because I was an MC. I didn't even decide to run at that time, but I was doing an MC job, an MC gig where he was a speaker. And I approached him and said, John, I mean, what's all this about? And then once he told me what's going on, I was like,
Oh,
okay, let's do something.
yeah. So he was right that this was a game that could be manipulated by political parties.
Yes.
You tried to be a part to dilute that attempt, and you did not succeed. Did you succeed? Or at least in part, no?
Well, I made it to the national level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made it to the national level. And
What did you get at the last station?
at the last station, at the end of the day, I decided that looking around and from what I've heard, and I have my sources, kind of sharing information along with groups of senator people, the finalists, the finalists of the Senate,
Yes.
kind of got together, and people who believe in the democratic ideology, and people who believe in the liberty of each other's votes and not purchased, not lobbied in any way. We kind of got together and said, you know what, at the end of the day, what's going to happen is if we according to our free will select who we think qualifies, we're going to end up with not having any of the we call it สวประชาชน, we call ourselves. We're not going to have any of them in there. So at the end of the day, maybe we should kind of look around and focus our votes on certain individuals to go in rather than scatter the points. So at the end of the day, I'm not sure if the people who I gave my votes to would be comfortable. So, but what I can tell you is I walked out of the ballot box with 0 points.
0 point.
Yep. At the end of the day, I decided that, okay, I'm going to send the people who I think qualify and would have a chance at becoming a senator, and I'm just going to walk out.
So you ended up being a zero guy as well.
Yes. And
rules, because of the rules of engagement.
Exactly. And out of the 10 people that I voted for, I could say that maybe 3 or 4 of them around is now one of the 200 people, are now the final 200.
Okay. So do you think you did your job? Do you think you at least accomplished the mission?
I played the game and I did my part, and I was not too happy with the results, but I respect the fact that it was free and fair until I went through this thick สว3 of a total of 140 something people
in
each group.
In that group.
And Suthichai, I'm quite okay with the qualifications that were given. I'm okay that you could have a primary school education and run for Senate. It's okay. But what I'm not quite okay with is actually the experience or the qualifications when it comes to the career path or the experience.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I did post on my Facebook the night right after the election, the selection process of the national level. Group 18, I mean, we have people who are members of the community เสียง ตาม สาย announcement announcers for the community, which is I'm quite okay. I'm like, okay, that's considered okay, fine.
That's
But
media.
then
Yeah.
I went to group 13, Suthichai. Group 13 is for science, innovation, and I'm not sure what the English name is. Group เทคโนโลยี วิทยาศาสตร์ นวัตกรรม. And then I see people who were, what do you call it? Mechanics.
Mechanics.
They fix cars for a living.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm like, I mean, if you fix cars for a living for the past, they say 20 something years,
Yeah.
it's totally okay if you would run for group 7, which is กลุ่ม
Chang.
แรงงาน something, labor or something, right? Number 7. If you ran for group number 20, which is miscellaneous,
Yeah.
no problem. If you went for a group freelancers, no problem, right? If you even open your own garage and you teach people to fix cars, you can even run for group number 3, which is teachers. I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't mind. But then if you're running for Senate within the science and innovation category, my question is, I mean, do you really have that experience to be making tough decisions on behalf of the Thai national? Right? Because keep in mind, Suthichai, last national election to get an MP, the ratio was 165,000 something people, voters per one MP.
Per MP, yes.
Per MP, 165,226 per one MP. But of the 40,000 something, and you end up with only 200 people, the ratio is so different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And these people, they're very important. They have very crucial roles when it comes to not only passing laws, but also when it's appointing members of the NACC, National Anti-Counter-Corruption, the election commissioners, the constitutional judge. I mean, it's very important what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you think the drafters of the Constitution or the drafters of this particular game were naive or were carrying some ulterior motives?
I'm not sure if they have any hidden agenda.
Yeah.
But there's always two sides of the coins.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you want to look at it from a very, very naive perspective and look at it that, okay, because they want the people within each district to vote for one another so that we get the best candidate and, so on and so on. I mean, you could look at that from that perspective as well. But from my experience being in the game for 3 rounds, district, provincial, and national level, regardless of what their intentions were, this can't go on, Suthichai. You know why? Because if we have this kind of selection process again in the next 5 years, you remember I told you about the group 17 next to mine?
Yes.
If they know how to play the game, if they have that much manpower, if they have that much money to spend around, and they now know the game, it's going to be even scarier next time.
It is.
It will be.
Yeah, and the investment is not that big compared to the national election for MPs.
No, I mean,
the money you need to spend to buy, can use the word buy, your senators is so much cheaper in a way.
Well, I mean, the allegations that I've heard is, only a few 100,000.
Yeah.
Only a few. That's just allegations. I mean, true or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And not to mention the investment of the individual, because if you're running for even for obata, even for district administration or provincial administration obata, you still have to spend certain amount of money for your cutouts, for your posters, for your banners, for your stickers, right? But because it doesn't, the senatorial selection process does not allow you to do that, then what you get, what you can do is just emails.
Emails,
Seriously,
right?
I'm flooded. I'm flooded with emails from Suthichai. So
Other
many people
and the
sending emails.
line groups, right? Line groups
Yes.
messages online.
Oh, and the first bing comes in at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the last bing is past midnight.
Yes, there
Yeah,
was
I mean,
quite an experience. But then the outcome, people are talking about the blue group, the orange group, and the so-called Isarat independent group. Do you think those descriptions really fit?
I think when it comes to people who have the interest, have high interest, and are willing to compete in this game,
Mhm.
they are in a way politically motivated. They will have their favorite
Mm,
fraction. They will have their preferred ideology. They will have what they see or how they perceive politics,
mhm,
right? So that being said, by default, they will already have what do you call it? Have in mind the kind of people or the fraction that they would want to enter the final 200. So it's just who makes it more at the finish line.
uh-huh,
Right. So and doing some evaluations, like some people, some individuals who got there with very high votes
mhm,
because and thanks to our journalists seeking out that some individuals were actually personal assistants of
mhm.
father of certain individuals. I was like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think what the speculation is quite it reflects reality of where or from
Yeah.
which faction these people come from. Yeah.
So it means that the professional politicians could exploit this game, the rules of this game, and even outsmart the Kokoto, the election commissioner.
I'm trying to look at, and the answer is yes. The answer
Yeah.
is yes. But I'm trying to look at this from the brightest side ever. I'm trying to look at this in the most possible, in the most positive way.
Right.
Is that regardless of how politically motivated or how these 200 people, if they are to be,
Mm.
what do you call it, based on certain political parties or fractions or ideologies, regardless of any of that, they are still better than the last 250.
Okay. Is that your conclusion? It's still better.
At least.
Uh,
Yeah, that's pretty
is that
much.
a good? Is that a good consolation? I mean,
Well, I mean, the first 250 didn't really care about the public's opinion, didn't really think about, what the
yeah.
general public would require or want through the
Mhm.
number of the ballots that turned out, right? And they just voted against. Mm.
But they get orders from the powers that be. But then you have to admit that certain political groups in the lower house would have direct control over almost a majority of the senators.
I would not be surprised. Yeah,
Uh-huh,
yeah,
uh-huh.
of course. I mean, it's politics. I mean,
Uh,
I would want to say, that you can't really hate the player, you have to hate the game. But if the player and the game maker are actually from the same fraction,
no,
that's just mayhem for Thailand as you see it.
I know. So,
Exactly.
in conclusion, what's your take on the
Okay.
exercise?
In my conclusion, Kun Suthichai,
Mhm.
I've once heard Kun Anand Panyarashun, former Thai Prime Minister and former ambassador, a Thai ambassador to Washington D.C., went on stage and said, and this I'm trying to recall what he said, but I get the concept, but maybe not his actual words.
Mhm.
He says the pillars of any democratic regime requires a number of checklists. All right. Number one, first and foremost, I'm going to keep that for last.
Yeah, okay.
Second, at second place is the rule of law. And let's you and I and the audience, let's do a little checklist together to see how much Thailand qualifies if we fail in each of these categories. Rule of law. Are all rules and laws in this country implied or applied to everyone equally? Or do people with ranks on their shoulders or people who have money or connections get through and not end up in jail in certain cases? Rule of law. Second one is accountability and transparency. Are we qualified with that? Number three is integrity, especially people who are politicians, right? And then along comes well, there's also the there's six or seven. Oh, there's also the hold on, Suthichai, hold on with me.
Okay.
Rule of law. There's the accountability and transparency. There's the freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. Okay.
Do we have that? All right. And then there's the integrity, right? Then there's the political tolerance. I mean, are we okay with people to live in a society where people disagree with us politically? I mean, are we okay to still be friends? Can family members still talk politics on the dining table and not go into a fight? Right? And last but not least, there's one more. It's the civil society. Civil society is something that we can still uphold to. It's still something that can still carry this country because of civil society, I think. And at number one, which is very, very easy to detect, is a free and fair election.
That is the top priority.
Exactly. And what we've been talking for the past, half an hour or so, and what we've seen, I'm not sure if we would call this recent Senate election free and fair.
But you were not disappointed because you learned a lot from taking part in this not so perfect process.
I kind of saw it coming, but I never thought I would, become like the firsthand witness in all this, and it's just you get to know people more.
I know.
You get to know that people who are, people who don't dress as nice as you would expect a politicians do, as politicians would be, they end up becoming very sincere, becoming very open, and keep their promises. Whereas people who are certain celebrities and have a reputation and are highly respected are not as clean or nice as they appear to be.
Well, that should have been the realization even before you decided to run, because politics in Thailand has shown its dirty faces for many years. But in the end, with that kind of experience, do you think that we need a Senate? We need an upper house?
Well, you see, Suthichai, it all comes to the experience, because if we were to compare this to let's say to England, right? They have the House of Lords, right? I mean, okay, let's not drag other countries into this, but let's say if we could idealistically have individuals who are experts, who are experts in certain fields, and they come into parliament, into the upper house, and have their say using their experience and knowledge. I would say if we could go to that process, if we could go to that stage, it would be ideal. I mean, imagine if we have the top climate change scientists running for an MP within his own district. The chances of him playing politics competing against other big political parties, which have the people, have the financial support, would be very hard. But if he or she
Mm-hmm.
run for a Senate,
Mm.
and through the Sawwa Sam, through the documents saying how qualified he or she is when it comes to climate change, or how qualified he or she is when it comes to fighting cybercrime, or how
Yeah.
each individual's talent is showcased and having a shot at becoming a Senate. I think if we could try to fix that,
Mm-hmm.
make that happen, I think a Senate, an upper house would still come in handy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm. So you were not bitter from the experience. You're not discouraged. You are more enlightened and more enthusiastic about improving Thai democracy.
If we can end the exploitation of the process of people, still using their own personal interest or their political party's interest above the national interest, if we can eradicate that, I think the 200 upper house, if we got the qualified people, I think there's still light at the end of the tunnel. I saw with my own eyes, Kun Suthichai, I saw for group number 14, which is Grum Satri,
Yeah.
dedicated just for women.
Yeah.
Group 14 is just for women. I saw one of the people who applied for a candidacy. She had a PhD, and her research was in supporting women's rights, supporting Muslim women's rights in the deep south of Thailand. I was like, if she goes through and we meet in the cluster group, I've never talked to this person, but I will vote for her. She never made it through, Suthichai. She went home in the very first round.
Oh no.
Oh, she didn't make it through.
Yeah. Okay, so we learned many lessons from this experience, and hopefully these lessons will lead to changes, and especially people in your generation, and then the generation after you should learn from this experience and try to do things that will make people, my generation, die peacefully, die at least with some hope that things will get better after we are not here anymore. Can you promise that? Can you promise to deliver that?
Well, yes, Suthichai, of course. I mean, let's look at it from the bright side.
Okay.
If there is no more coup d'etat,
Okay.
if somebody could promise and swear to me that there will no longer be any coup d'etat in Thailand, things can only get better.
Okay.
I would say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Supachon, for a very interesting, exciting, provocative, and educational discussion for me. Thank you. And hope
Thank you.
talk to you again on many other things: politics, technology, education, disruption, and
how to raise 4 kids in one household.
Okay, we'll talk again. Thank you very much, Supachon, for today.
Thank you for having me. ขอบคุณครับ
สวัสดีครับ สวัสดีครับ